Hey guys, welcome back to How I Train Your Gavin, and I'm doing my best books of 2019. What I've realised is on this list there is only one book that came out in 2019, so this ain't a good list. I'm a terrible booktuber. I won't be able to give you good reviews on these books anymore because half of them I talked about to death, and half of them I kind of already started to forget what's happened. But nevertheless, here is my top 10 books of 2019, or at least the ones that I've read in 2019. Again, only one of them came out in 2019. Oh my god. I'm telling you, I had so much catching up to do in 2019. So many books that came out years ago that I had to read this year. Most of them turned out to be one of my top books of the year. If I had read more books, I would have done a top 10 releases of 2019, but alas, here we are. I haven't included any middle grade books in this list. I will probably do a separate video for the top 10 middle grades that I read in 2019. Although saying that, I'm sure everybody could guess exactly what 10 books it would be. Without further ado, let's get into my top 10 list. In at number 10 is the book that came out in 2019, and that is The Binding by Bridget Collins. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed all of them. Why am I saying that? That is like standard line for when you don't know what to say is, I really enjoyed this book. Of course I did. It's in this list. I think this was like the 7th book that I read in 2019. So that was like a year ago now. So I still remember quite a lot from this. This book is about a boy called Emmett, and he is sent to live with a woman who binds books. Now, under her care, he starts to learn how to bind books himself. When I say bind books, they take people's memories and bind them into these books so the original owner of those memories will forget that memory. And there are multiple reasons why people want to forget things. I know there's plenty of stuff that I'd love to forget, let me tell you. But one day, Emmett comes across a book with his name on it, and he doesn't know why it's there, or the memories that he's forgotten, but he's really intrigued what is in this book. Not gonna lie, part 1 of this was quite a slog to get through. I wasn't really enjoying it until part 2. There are gonna be no spoilers in this, but I really freaking loved the romance in this. Oh, I loved it so much. Maybe until the end when it started to get a little bit destructive, but either way, like, I'm telling you, part 2 of this just really got my blood pumping. It was like a pairing that I really shipped, and it is beautifully written as well. I thought it was very imaginative. I love the world. I think there's so much potential with this premise, that there's so much more that this author could do if she chooses to do more, and I really hope she does. Such a good fast-paced read. Towards like the middle of the year, I didn't think this was going to be on my top list, but this is a book that I've remembered quite clearly and one that stayed with me all year, so this had to make the list. Like, I don't know what else I can say about this without spoiling it, because like this has something in it that I don't think a lot of people know going into it, so until you read it you'll know what I'm talking about. And I love that that wasn't used as a marketing tool for this book. I was very pleasantly surprised by it. This book was just it's just so good. Like, people are talking Grey's Anatomy spoilers here, what? But yeah, if part 1 wasn't such a slog to get through, this might have been higher on the list. But as is, it is currently staying at number 10. In at number 9 is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab, the second book in the Shades of Magic series, and it's my first time reading the series in 2019. I have yet to finish the third one. I promise I will do it soon because I'm buddy reading it with Jade, and we started in October and just haven't finished it. So this is about a magician called Kel, and he has the ability to travel through parallel universes, or at least parallel Londons, because there are 4 Londons in this world. And this is a second book, so I haven't even mentioned the first one, because it's already a struggle. Yeah, that is what the main character can do. But in this world, there is magic, and some people have magic, some people don't. And yeah, this is the second book in that series. I can't really explain much. This isn't the first V.E. Schwab book that I read, but it's one of the first ones that I really fell in love with because the characters have been more established in this one. I really enjoyed the premise of this one as well. There is a sort of tournament thing going on in this, and I do enjoy that kind of trope, as a lot of booktubers do. I've realised in 2019 a lot of booktubers love tournament or trial tropes, and I'm one of them. Loud and proud, boys, loud and proud. But I wasn't sure if I was going to like this one as much as I liked the first one, but I was so pleasantly surprised by this one, and I had such a fun time buddy reading this one with Jade as well. Short chapters and very punchy. The stakes are a little bit more higher in this one as well, mainly because I have fallen more in love with the characters in this one, so I felt more of the tension and the more danger that they were in, the more scared I was getting. It is a great follow-up to A Darker Shade of Magic, magic, and one that I'm so glad I read. I really hope the third one lives up to this one. Yeah, I guess that's all I can really say about this one right now, I guess. Like, say, this is already fallen apart. But in at number 8 is a book that I could definitely talk about, and I think a few people know that this will be on here, but that is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. So this book is set in the 80s, and it is about two girls. One of them gets possessed, and the other one has to try and save her. Pretty much all you need to know. I had such a fun time reading this one. It was just so atmospheric. I was really feeling the 80s vibes. I love shows like Stranger Things, and I love 80s movies as well, and I got these vibes from it. So I thought it was very well written, and my first Grady Hendrix book, and he has become somebody who I really enjoy reading. I love his writing style. He's very funny. There were so many moments in this where I just laughed my head off, and I love the chapter titles as well. Each chapter title is a different 80s song, and of course I was singing along to that. It was the best time. But the comedy was very well balanced. I felt there were a lot of gory kind of moments in this that really made me feel a bit sick, so it definitely balanced it, and I thought it was such a good atmospheric read. This one did get me a little bit emotional by the end of it. I was really connected to the characters by that point, and I was just really wanting them to get through this and to win, and I'm not telling you how it ends or anything, but I did get emotional. It's one that has definitely stayed with me as well, and I can't wait until the day where I can reread this. It's just, so good. And at number 7 is, I think, the first ever sci-fi book that I've ever read, and that is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Again, an older book. I think this came out in 2011, and I loved it. I loved the movie. I saw the movie last year when it came out in cinemas, and I just absolutely loved it. This one was better. I will give it that. It's so much better. I'm glad I read it. This one is set in a world where people live in a sort of virtual reality called the Oasis, and there is a tournament thing going on. See what I'm doing here, the tournament trope. We follow Wade, who enters this sort of competition, and I really rooted for him. I found him such a likable character. I was living for the pop culture in this as well. I'm not usually the biggest fan of pop culture references, but when it's done as smartly as it is in this book, I really genuinely live for it. A lot of it was 80s again. Like, my geeky side really came out during this. I loved all the video game references and films and music and all that, so really, really well done. I cannot wait for the next one. I'm sure there's a sequel coming. It's about time. But for sci-fi, that is usually out of my comfort zone, so I was really glad I gave it a shot, and I ended up really loving this one, of course, because it's made the list. Anything with a really good quest, I think I will just genuinely fall head over heels in love with. The only thing about this book is the writing is teeny tiny, so small, but still enjoyed it. And number 6 is Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and I read this one because the movie was coming out and I wanted to read the book, and I'm so glad I read the book first. I absolutely love the book, and it made the movie really pale in comparison to it. Like, the movie was just not as good as I was hoping it would be. First time reading this, and this is about a family who moved to a house, and there is this really weird cemetery where people bury their dead animals. What can I say without spoiling it next? There's really nothing. Like, I'm sure you know what the story is, but I don't know how to say the summary without spoiling it. A part of this cemetery brings the dead back to life. So that's all I'm saying, okay? That's all I'm saying about the synopsis. But I found this so atmospheric. This was the first Stephen King book that I read this year. The only other Stephen King book I read before this was Carrie, and that was a few years back. And so this one was, like, technically my first Stephen King book that I really remember reading and enjoying. So I loved this book so much. I thought it was really well written, very dark. Probably my favourite Stephen King book so far. There isn't another one in this list, is there? But I love his writing style. He can make the mundane seem so interesting sometimes. And there was a lot in this that did feel a bit mundane, but there was enough of the plot to keep it going. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was really good. I was getting annoyed towards the end with the main character's decisions, but at the same time, it really helped with the story, and a lot of it can be seen a little bit unrealistic. But I'm not penalising it for that, because it really did work my imagination with this, as well as creeping me out. Anything to do with dead animals really freaks me out, and it evokes a lot of emotion in me, so this was very emotional. It's going to be hard to top this one for me, I think. Maybe my taste in Stephen King isn't that great, I don't know, but I did love it, so it's on the list. And at number 5 is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.A. Schwab. So finally I can talk about this one, and I absolutely love the first book in the Shades of Magic series. Absolutely loved it. I can't believe it's taken so long to read it. As I was saying with The Gathering of Shadows about being set in, like, parallel Londons, This one really introduced the world so well. I was so intrigued throughout this book, and I'm so glad we got introduced to really charismatic characters. I absolutely love Kel, I love Lila, I love Rye. Oh my god, like 3 amazing characters, absolutely love them. Like, I ship all 3 of them together. I loved reading a book where I just instantly fell in love with the characters. They were just, they were so great. And the plot just kept moving forward and forward and forward, so that there was never a dull moment in this. I loved the magic system as well. I loved Kel being able to do all this stuff. And of course, Lila, I think she is such a great character. Their chemistry together, their sort of general banter, and the way they kind of like butt heads at times, it was great and made for really good reading. I enjoyed the villains as well. I thought they were quite 3-dimensional, and there was so much going on by the end of this book that I think a lot of it was quite chaotic, but the same things happened with the second book as well, and the part that I've read of the third book happens again. There's just so much chaos and chaotic writing, but hey, it's really well written. Absolutely love the characters, and definitely my favourite Victoria Schwab book of all time so far. There's still so many that I need to read yet, but this stands out amongst a bunch so far, like really stands out. In number 4 is Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. This is the first book in the Song of Ice and Fire series, and I read this for the Catch Up Book Club that was hosted by Becca at Becca and the Books, and I was so excited to dive into the series. I started reading this before the show ruined everything, really, so I was still excited for this book. I could say just how well the show adapted this book. The episodes were playing in my head. There was still a lot more in this, of course, because it's such a chunk of a book, and these kind of epic fantasies scare me, but I was just finding myself really loving and being interested in the characters and their perspectives. I already knew what the story was, I'd seen the show, and I knew what was going to happen, but I still found myself really invested and hoping things would change for some of the characters. I still felt that emotional investment, and of course the story I really, really enjoy. It's a bit of a slow burn for me personally, but there were like several moments sprinkled throughout to keep the momentum going, whereas I felt like later books in the series had a bit of a problem with pacing. This one I thought was paced really well, don't at me, but I just enjoyed reading this so much. I read this in 4 days. I didn't want to put it down. I was just living. I was loving the characters. I love the writing style. I love the different perspectives of it, and each character did feel different. Definitely my favourite in the Song of Ice and Fire series so far, probably by a long shot. But there's just so much like potential with this one, with the world and what was to come, and I'm still really looking forward to The Winds of Winter, so this book has set a really good foundation for this entire world. And yeah. And number 3 is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I love this book, and I'm glad I can explain the plot of this. So this is set in a world, like, you've already heard the plot from me a million times, but if you're new here, this is set in a world where we have conquered death, and there are professional scythes that clean people to help keep the population down. Our 2 main characters become apprentice scythes, and they learn the scythedom ways. Oh, I love it. This is dystopian, which I felt was a genre that died years ago, but apparently not. This came in and kicked me in the butt. I didn't realise just how much I would fall in love with these characters. I really don't mind the romance in this. I don't mind at all. I felt this was so fast paced, and I love the writing style so much. Even reading the third book, which I will talk about another time, and that one is huge, well, huge compared to the other 2. That was still a fast paced read because of Neil Shusterman's writing style. He is such a good author. He knows how to hold your interest. Even in moments when there isn't a lot going on, I was just flicking through it like this. The entire world potential as well is exponential. Absolutely love the idea of this world and being deadish and not being able to die and being revived, and it's just all that stuff just really interests me. I want to see more from this world. I don't like the fact that the Ark of the Side series has ended now. I want to see more. There was just enough drama and intrigue in this for me to call this one of my favourite books, maybe one of my favourite young adult books of all time. I am totally and utterly in love with Scythe. It's just fantastic. One of the villains in this as well is just so charismatic, rather infuriatingly so, and I love it when we have a villain like that too. It's just, so good. I need to see this adapted, I really do. But until then, I will probably reread this like 5 times. Before I tell my top 2, I do want to give an honourable mention to A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I don't really want to add this to the list because it is a Christmassy book, but it is such a fantastic book that I read, I think, for the first time in December. I lost my December wrap-up footage where I talk about this one, otherwise I wouldn't have included it. This was just an incredibly phenomenal phenomenal read for me. I absolutely love Victorian literature, and this one just gave me all of the Christmassy feels. It's so weird talking about Christmas now, but yeah, I do just want to quickly shout this one out because I just think it was so great, and probably one that I want to reread every Christmas. Ah, it's beautiful. Okay, so in at number 2 is Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. Yes, I'm putting the second book of Scythe above Scythe. So this one is fresher in my mind than Scythe is, so I don't know if technically it is my favourite Arc of a Scythe book, but to me, I genuinely love this one. I cannot still get over the ending of it. Whew. The amount of times I've recommended this book series to people and I've told them, oh my god, the ending of Thunderhead is well worth just picking up the first book for now, just do it. The characters, again, love them. I love that they are being more established. I just felt so much danger in this one. It is just dripping with danger. It continues Neil Shusterman's epic world vision. Ending, phenomenal. I will always shout out the ending. I love the introduction of some new characters in this and some returning favourites as well. Returning characters I didn't realise I would like as much until they got some of the spotlight in this. Oh, sorry, I've still got a bit of a cold. Oh god, I just love it so much. Like, what else can I say about this book? How do people do these top 10 lists? I genuinely do not know because I feel like I'm repeating myself. But I loved this book. But yeah, I think it's my favourite in the Arc of the Scythe series. So my favourite read of 2019 is so cliche, you're gonna hate me, but I don't care because it is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was everybody's favourite book like 2 years ago or something. I only got to it in 2019 for the first time. So glad I did. This book, again, is one that stayed with me. I could not really pick up another book after it because I couldn't get out of this world and Evelyn Hugo's head. It was just, oh my god, Evelyn Hugo is like legit one of my favourite fictional characters of all time now. She is somebody who really connects with you as a reader. The writing style of this, again, I never realised I would love a book as much as this. And I thought when I started reading this, like, oh, this is just going to be so overhyped and I'm not going to like this. Oh my god, boy, was I wrong. This is about a Hollywood starlet from the 50s and 60s. And she is talking about her career, her life, her personal life. And she tells her story to this nobody journalist. And we don't know why she's telling this particular journalist her story, but we do start to figure it out towards the end. And I did like that aspect of it as well. But the main chunk of the story is told through Evelyn Hugo and what happened in Hollywood back in the day when she was a really successful actress. Yeah, it goes through the 7 husbands that she went through, the different kind of landmarks of her life. And I've never read a book like this, I don't think. I genuinely haven't. I took such a huge break from reading after uni, and getting back into reading in 2018 has meant that I've been able to discover gems like this. I felt like I talked about this so much in my mid-year book freakout tag as well, and I'm trying to remember what I said about it. This is so hard. I've read 100 books since then. How am I supposed to remember? But characters, absolutely love. Writing, love. I can't wait to read more of Taylor Jenkins Reid. Pretty much what I want to say about it. I want everybody to read this book. The amount of times that I bought this book for other people is insane. And there's more people that I know will love it that I'm going to gift in 2020. So you better keep an eye out. Gosh, love it. Absolutely love it. I will never stop raving about this book, ever. So I think that's all I want to say about my best books of 2019. Sorry it was really shite. 2020 is the year that I get my shit together of reviewing books. A lot of things that I need to start writing down so I can remember what I want to say about them. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a little like if you did. And subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what your favourite book of 2019 was. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.